Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 2. Who's done their day 1? I saw a lot of you guys on Facebook. It looked good. People were drinking it out of wine glasses. It was awesome.
So many people made it yesterday. I'm so happy for you guys, and everybody seemed to love it.
Denise says hello from Petaluma, California. I've been there. It's such a beautiful place. It's like countryside and cows, and it's super gorgeous out there. And Rachel says hello. Hello, Rachel. And hi, who else can I see? Julie Wolek. Let me just scroll through you guys. Jeanette. Hi, Jeanette. She was a friend from Tucson when I used to live there. Denise and Jackie and Allie is here again at 4 a.m. Denise with a Z and Liz. Hi, Liz. Liz wasn't here yesterday. Hi, good to see you guys. Look at all of us. We're such a great family. We all get together here on the Skype thingy or on the Zoom thingy. And Inga's here. I love Inga. She took our course back in Tucson. Yeah, she was awesome. And Renee and Kelly. Hi, Kelly. Kelly's doing our online course right now, whole culinary training. Julie, without the E, Julie T. We got a lot of Julies. Jerry with a J. All right, well, it's good to see all you guys, and I'm sure more people will be joining us in a momento. But again, just a reminder, hi from New York, says Lynn. Jackie says, bless you all. And Kelly says, hi from California. And Jeanette says, hey, gorgeous. Jackie says she doesn't have chard, but she does have some non-organic yucky iceberg from her son. Well, I'll cover that today, Jackie, when I go over the collards. It's actually not chard, but collards. And we'll talk about alternatives for that too, so don't worry. Before we get into our recipe and all of that, and welcome to, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm going to do my best, Muge, or, oh. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Kathy says, good morning. She's sipping on her golden tonic and excited to be here also from California. So yay, okay, this is great. We love you. There's already 27% more than we had yesterday. So I know some of you guys might have been working on Friday. So I'm so glad you guys are all here. Caitlin, why don't you just give some reminders if there's new people on today that were on yesterday about commenting and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so we will open the call up at the end. If anyone has questions, we can always speak if you want to. There's an ability to unmute yourself, which I'm going to allow everyone to do at the end. Otherwise, I see so many people already using that chat box. Just continue using that. If you have questions that come up throughout the talk or the recipe demonstration, you can always write those in, and we'll just periodically be answering those questions. But we always love to hear from you guys. We love it if you want to pop on video. So many people here have done some of our programs before, and so they kind of know how this whole virtual classroom works. But we do love to hear from you all on video, see your face. This is really about connection as much as it is about learning. So thanks everyone for joining today.
I just want to say right now, there's a bluebird in my backyard, and when I was out on my run today, this bluebird kind of swooped me, not in a bad way, but like swooped by me, and I was like, it's probably because it's spring, but I'm like, there's bluebirds visiting me. It's so sweet. I can see right out in my yard. Anyway, yes, thank you, Caitlin, for covering that. And so I'm going to talk about what we're going to go through today, and we're going to do the recipe at the end, which is, I don't know if you can see my board here, but there's all kinds of amazing ingredients, and they're hopefully all things that most people have in their kitchen. Maybe not all of you, and I do want to apologize that yesterday I kind of was talking to all of you as if you had already done our Love Camp courses or you had somehow taken some courses. And I know some of you have, but I know a lot of you haven't. So today, if I talk about any of that stuff, I'll give a little bit more detail. And I'm also committed to speaking slower, because I did see the replay from yesterday and I was like, wow, I talk fast. And I've been told that before, but I'm working on myself, so always. And I think it's just because I have so much information to share in an hour and I want to just, but those of you guys who know that about me.
That's
yeah,
sure.
Right, Caitlin?
Yes. I think we both need to work on that. So we're just so excited.
I know. No. That's why we get along so well.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we're going to cover the science behind sugar addiction. And we're going to cover, I'm going to talk about the number, and Caitlin and I will kind of probably switch on and off, and the number one biggest mistake that's keeping you addicted to sugar. And it's probably maybe not what you think, because I'll talk about willpower and things like that as well. And then how to let go of your limiting beliefs when it comes to eating healthy. Does this sound familiar to anybody? How many of you guys have like committed to going off sugar more than once and it somehow just doesn't work? And you know, as you know, I mentioned yesterday, but Caitlin and I are we both know how hard it is. Just a quick story from when I told you guys yesterday that I went raw vegan, they call it, 22 years ago, actually 23 now. Every year I have to remember to add on a year, 23 because it was in 1997. And, you know, that was, at first I was hardcore. I went all in. And then, Caitlin, is something happening?
Yes, someone just took over the viewing. So let me see if I can get it back. But you can keep talking.
Yeah. So you guys can still hear me. So, what happened? So as I was doing that, of course, like first went hardcore for the first month, first month I was really intense, and I'm not sure how long that lasted. I'm trying to remember. It was a long time ago. But there would be times, because I was married at the time, when I would on weekends go out and splurge with my husband. And what happened though is the longer I was eating a raw diet and the longer I was eating healthy, let's see who that is, just so we can let them know that it's them.
It's Rachel.
Somebody's sharing their screen with us. And you probably don't want to be sharing your screen with us right now.
Stop sharing.
I don't know.
There we go.
We can't see it.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm trying to say in all of this is that it's not a straight line like this, like off sugar, off all foods that don't serve me, or whatever it is. Even when you're like deciding to lose weight or exercise or anything, you're going to have what's called like this, like it's on a graph. It would go up, down, but it would keep going up. So I want to put that out there to you, because as I talked yesterday, I realized I was saying, oh, I never eat this and I never eat that. But that, when I started, I would have, like I told you, I would go out on the weekend with my husband, and that was like our one night we'd go out. But after a while, like the Chinese food that we would eat, I would be like, this tastes like rancid oil. It tastes nasty. I never noticed that before. The cleaner my palate got, the easier it was to say no, not because I had willpower, but because it actually didn't taste good or feel good anymore. And I remember I would do these kind of what I called binges we'd go to the movies and I'd be like, I'm just gonna let myself have whatever I wanted. And again, like I would eat the candy, I would eat the sugar, I'd eat the cookies, whatever I wanted. And it just became less and less appealing. At first it was like my one splurge day a week. And that's why they do that when there's certain people that coaches that say, you know, have your one carb up day or your one pig out day a week. And that does work at first. And then you'll just find that that's just less and less appealing. And there is a lot of different ways to approach this. Some of us are the all or nothing types, and I am that type. So I will jump in both feet and just go for it and get the experience of being a raw foodist or being sugar-free or being vegan or going off, you know, going keto. And I talked a little bit about keto yesterday, but if I need to, I'll explain more later. And I just want to reassure you that this is you're in the exact right place. Like today, this weekend, committing to like even just doing these recipes and saying, okay, this is a great start, and deciding if you're an all or nothing person or if you're more of, so there's two types according to Gretchen Rubin, who wrote the book Better Than Before. And we have the abstainers, people like me who have to abstain fully from sugar and things. And then there's the moderators, and the moderators are people that you've seen them who can have one cookie or half a cookie and be like, I'm full. That's on me. I have to be the all or nothing type. So you need to know for yourself what type you are. That's why it's easier for those of us who are the all or nothing or the abstainers. When we go off of something, we go off completely. And I do think that that is helpful in a lot of ways. So just want to kind of talk about that for a minute. And then when we're done talking about all of our limiting beliefs and our biggest mistakes, we're going to do this recipe. For those of you who just joined, it's an Asian wrap in a collard leaf, and I'm going to show you all the details and give you some cooking tips and some cutting and chopping tips and things like that. Anything you want to say at this moment, Caitlin?
Well, we are going to talk about the science behind sugar addiction. here soon. But I just wanted to say a quick research thing that has come out. And this isn't all or nothing science. We don't know a lot about the coronavirus. Doctors in the field are doing tons of work constantly to try and figure this whole thing out. But the latest that they've found is the connection between getting the virus, keeping the virus, and sugar. So we talked yesterday about how sugar actually suppresses our immune system, and it can do that pretty immediately once we drink a soda or we eat something with sugar in it. It can actually suppress our immune system for up to 5 hours. And if we're constantly doing that, we're constantly suppressing our immune system, which means our immune system doesn't have the ability to fight off viruses, bacteria, anything that's coming in the body that needs to be defended against. So they're actually seeing that a lot of the people who are getting coronavirus have pre-existing conditions like diabetes, which is immediately sugar connection, diabetes, those are very correlated. Obviously, we know that. So that is the latest, that a lot of people with diabetes are actually the ones who are getting sugar, which is telling doctors that the amount of sugar in the body and the ability to withstand coronavirus are just connected, as I said before. But I just thought that was really interesting. This isn't die-hard science that is now this is the exact reason for people getting coronavirus, but I just thought it was an interesting thing for us to think about.
Yeah, interesting correlation there.
Mm-hmm.
And I have that from the beginning, that diabetics are way more sensitive. So even if you're not diabetic, I was pre-diabetic before I did all this, and I wasn't officially tested, but I know from my roller coaster of when I ate sugar and how terrible I felt and how addicted I was. I was so addicted to sugar, and I want you guys to know that. So I'm the light at the end of the tunnel, and so is Caitlin. We were both. Caitlin tells stories about how she would eat stacks of pancakes. She didn't know she was celiac, with maple syrup on it, and just her carb was going through the roof. I mean,
I was a sugar addict child. My mom would find me sneaking under my bed, just actually eating sugar. I couldn't get my hands off of it. And it created so much gut dysbiosis in my body growing up. I mean, mood swings, sugar cravings, everything was so imbalanced in my body. And to the point where I actually developed autoimmune disease. So I'm super passionate about getting off sugar and really seeing the things that it causes in the body, which the science behind it, which is what we're going to cover. But one thing is the chronic inflammation that sugar creates, and that creates something called ages. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too today. But I'm really big on getting off sugar for chronic inflammation, because I do have a chronic inflammatory disease. And that's why when I do eat sugar, it really does affect me to the point where I get arthritis in my hands and my joints, and just really, really stiff body. And so I don't like it. I don't like it.
No, we don't like inflammation. And the only way I know I don't like it is because now I don't have inflammation. So if I do eat something, I can notice it right away. I think I mentioned before, I wake up and my hands, my foot can't bend my fingers. I feel like they're like sausages. I'll notice old shoulder injury, the pain starts to hurt, or my knee hurts when I'm running. If I'm not eating inflammatory foods of any kind, I just went for a 3-mile run this morning and I feel amazing. And I really, for a 55-year-old body, I feel like I have figured out a secret, and that's why we're sharing this with you guys. You don't have to get old. You can still keep feeling amazing, and you can outrun people that are 20 years younger than you if that's what you want to do. It doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be this downhill decline. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the science behind sugar addiction. So, we say something like, I'm going to start my diet tomorrow, or I'm going to start no sugar tomorrow. So why doesn't that work? Why do we feel like that's something, if diets worked, if, going off of something like sugar just by saying it worked, why are so many of us still addicted to sugar, or still not able to lose weight, or still not able to, find that balance? And it's, because in our world, the sugar is in everything. And that's one of the reasons. So let's just talk about the different places that sugar are. So simple carbohydrates, I'm just going to explain what that is. A simple carbohydrate is something like sugar. And yesterday we covered a little bit, but we didn't mention honey, but honey, maple syrup, coconut sugar, flour of any kind, white flour, even wheat flour, any bagel, bread, pastry, white rice, I said, anything that you can think of that comes from a grain like corn, all these are considered simple sugars. And they raise the, if they have fiber in them, like corn maybe is a little slower, but I really think it's almost like a simple sugar. But it's pretty much like fiberless, or like, because white rice has the hulls taken off. It's going to raise your insulin levels really quickly. It's just like eating a candy bar. And they've actually shown in Wheat Belly, there's like 4 gluten-free books that are out that are very popular, Grain Brain, that even a whole wheat bagel will raise your blood sugar faster than even, a candy bar or something like that. Like, it's crazy. When I heard that, I was like, really? And it's just because of the way that the grains work. And without the fiber and the protein and the fats in the simple carbohydrates, you're not satisfied. That's why you could eat a whole bowl of pasta. Why can't you eat a whole bowl of pasta and still be like, I could eat more? Or you could eat something like, a salad even, which doesn't have hardly nearly as many calories. And you're like, wow, I feel really satisfied, like with some healthy olive oil and things like that. Like, think about the difference between eating pizza. Like, you could just eat a whole pizza, even though you're full, you just keep eating it. And it's because it always leaves you wanting more, because there's opiates in gluten, and sugar, as we know, is more addictive than cocaine. So let's think about the pasta sauce that's in the pasta, or with the pasta, or on the pizza. Those are loaded with sugar. So if you read labels, you'll see that there's sugar in most pasta sauces. Of course, it's going to be in the pizza sauce. The best ones out there are so great because they have that combination of white salt and sugar that is the perfect addiction to keep people coming back for more and more and more. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about Tombstone Pizza, and they're like, we think that Tombstone Pizza is the best pizza out there, as far as buying it frozen. And then they were laughing about the fact that it was called Tombstone, because they know it's bad for you. So they're throwing it in your face. Like, here you go. Tombstone Pizza is the best ever. It's going to kill you, but eat it because we want the money. So that's just, so we know about how marketing works. They're not trying to anything packaged, unless it's maybe a really high integrity company. They're not doing it for your best good. They're doing it for the dollar. They're doing it for the money. And that's why we're teaching you to make everything from scratch. So maybe it's not surprising to you, but when we cut carbohydrates from our diet, the body tends to crave that quick energy. So it's accustomed to getting that from quick sugar. Think about all the runners who do the gel packs, or a lot of people that eat a ton of like fruit smoothies or fruit before they do exercise, or they want, some kind of sugar thing to keep them going. It's because the body is used to that quick sugar. And so at first you're going to crave that because you feel like, and I felt it, like you feel your blood sugar drop and you're like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this. And so that is just it's like any drug that you're going off of, you go through withdrawal. And so you're starting to notice that you're missing that, right? But once your system learns to fuel itself with whole foods, without carbohydrates, and I'm not saying no carbs, I'm just saying without the quick sugar carbs, like the pastas and the breads and the grains and the bars that have 15 grams of sugar in them, and the things, you guys know the things. And so once your body gets used to eating these whole foods, the cravings go away. And I talked about that yesterday, and Caitlin mentioned it too. And things like chronic inflammation from sugar, and you mentioned AGEs, Caitlin, that stands for Advanced Glycation End Products, and that ages us really quickly, and that comes from things like sugar. And the glycation causes the excess levels of aging, and it also triggers disease, which is what you were talking about with coronavirus. Any virus, I mean, there's been viruses on the planet before. Of course, disease, like I said, cannot live in an alkaline environment. Just like when you're cleaning your pool, they know what the pH is to keep the algae from growing. For our bodies, we know 7.4 is our blood pH, no matter what. No matter if I ate a candy bar right now, my blood would go, shoot, I got to stay at 7.4. I need some minerals. I need some stuff. I'm going to go directly to those bones and grab those minerals out. That's going to leave us mineral deficient. That's going to leave us low energy. So we need to start putting in the dark leafy greens, the chlorella, the spirulina, the salads, the smoothies with all these yummy things blended in that we teach you guys in our 30-day course. And they're very alkalizing. And I know a lot of you guys listening, you probably type it in the comments right now. What do I always say is the fastest way to alkalinity and to pure joy? Let's see if anybody knows. Let's see.
Come on, people.
You guys, we know you know.
We know Julie knows.
Liz knows. Inga knows. Okay, well, while I'm waiting for you guys to answer, green juice, Liz, yay! Green juice. So we know that there's a huge celery juice fad right now, and people are making it crazy, like crazy, and that's what's kind of keeping your body healed. Yep, fasting, celery juice, green juice, now they're all coming in. Green juice, yes, yay! I just want to read a couple comments before I go on because I wanted to make sure we don't miss anything.
Yeah, I'll read Julie. She says she can totally relate to the sugar addiction. Starting young, her mom found her at age 2, sitting on the kitchen floor, eating white sugar by the spoonful from the bowl. Yes, that was totally me too. Yikes. I couldn't get enough. Now I'm free of it. Feels so good, as Elena and Kate are saying. And Julie has been in our program now for quite a while and has just made tremendous leaps and bounds. So thank you, Julie. You are such an inspiration.
And then Julie Matovich says, my grandmother gave us Wonder Bread sandwiches with sugar and margarine. Yeah, everybody just did the best they could. I know I'm kind of appalled when I look back on what I had and how sick I was as a kid. I mean, I was sick. My mom kept blaming it on the fact that I was left-handed. Oh, you just have a low immune system. As I had Wonder Bread and sodas, we had those big bottles of soda that you had to drink fast because they would lose their fizz. So, and I would put the sugar over in the cereal, like, so you could see it over the top of it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, sugar was cheap, so my mom let us eat as much as we want. She didn't know. And then we wondered why I was so sick.
And that's why we have to be kind on ourselves too, because yeah, we did the best with the knowledge that we had. And now it's time to own our own health, take back our own health, and start doing this day by day.
Yeah.
It's not an overnight thing.
Right. And Caitlin, I want you to address the stress and the sugar craving connection, because I know you've dealt a lot with stress and how you've seen firsthand how it's really affected your body.
Well, stress, as we know, increases cortisol. I mean, stress in general can just wreak havoc on our hormones. And the one thing that it also does is it increases something called cortisol, which many of us have heard before, and that depletes our estrogen levels, it depletes our progesterone, and it also depletes our ability to turn off our hunger hormone. So when we're stressed, we tend to feel hungrier. And what do we tend to crave? We tend to crave sugary things. So that's another key piece around the science behind sugar addiction is if you're chronically stressed. Another one would be sleep. If you're chronically sleep deprived because of stress, don't you notice on a day that you don't sleep as well, you're just hungry all the time? Like usually I fast at least 14 hours a day, but if I didn't sleep very well the night before, I can be ravenously hungry that morning, and that's because it's really messing with that hunger hormone and it's increasing our cortisol. So that's a really, really key piece. And we can't just eliminate all stresses from our life, but that's why Elena and I are such big proponents on meditation. And we're going to talk about some of the reasons or some of the key ways to, get through sugar cravings. And one of them is meditation. If we can calm our adrenals, calm our nervous system, we don't want to turn to something like a cookie for comfort where we feel satiated inside.
Exactly. And part of that, what I've noticed for me is not lately, so the biggest part, and this is why meditation works so well, they say this in Alcoholics Anonymous, the first thing is acknowledging that you have a problem. So the biggest part is that we stop hiding from ourselves. And when I first noticed a time where I got off the phone, a stressful conversation, and I went straight to the fridge, I caught myself. And before that, I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. I was stress eating. And so how many of us are stress eating without knowing it? We think we're hungry, but we're just stress eating. Or like you said, you're sleep deprived. And so you're looking for, that's called ghrelin. So the ghrelin hormone increases, which tells us to eat, even if we're really not hungry, even though we think we're hungry. And so how many times are we just at the mercy of our hormones or of our stress, and we go for the sugar, which is the comfort, like I mentioned yesterday, from the cookies that we got as children, and the love and comfort that even strangers give you a lolly, and over and over again. So it's like the first thing is just to be your own witness, like be this witness up here saying, oh, did you see that you just went for that treat when you had an argument, or when you got a stressful email, or you realized you were behind on a project or whatever. Like there's so many ways of stress.
And this is biology too. So this is just our body's natural, what it does naturally under stress. And cortisol also increases our blood sugar. And we know what happens when blood sugar falls. We feel that crash. And so we're more likely to look for something that's fast fuel. So once we understand that it's actually a biological system that's triggering these things, we can be a bit more gentle on ourselves too.
Yep. And so, yeah, so I guess right now is a great time to get more sleep because we have more time. So, and they call it sleep hygiene, which I think is kind of funny, but it really is like getting the electronics out of your room, getting I don't tell people to stop technology at night because it's ridiculous. Like nobody's going to do that. People want to watch Netflix. They want to do stuff. But if you get those blue blocker glasses, and you can get them on Amazon for $10, I have a pair, and put those on once the sun goes down, that's going to really help your sleep. Because I really don't believe in telling people to stop stuff. And that's why we're not telling you to, saying, stop eating certain kinds of sugar, but we're giving you alternatives. Because when you just say, no technology after 7, people are like rolling their eyes like, yeah, right. But wear blue blocker glasses at night, I can do that. That's just an extra step of just putting them on. And my friend Dreamer has his own prescription glasses that have the orange tint to them. So they're making those now. They actually get it. And a lot of these screens are going dark at night. Like you can program them with something called Flux. There's an app that's in my computer called fl.ux. And then you can do it on your iPhone too. You just turn that dimmer switch all the way down. But anyway, the orange glasses will help with that. And then not having any caffeine, of course, later in the day. Some of us like me do better if I have a little bit to eat at night, like some nuts or something. But we all need to know our own bodies and what works best for our sleep. I run an air purifier in my room, so I have that white noise so that random noises don't wake me up like a loud truck or something. So yeah, just tuning into what works for you as far as your sleep. Keep the room nice and cold, really cold. The colder the better. You usually sleep better if you have a cold room.
Yeah, we love geeking out about sleep because when we've gotten enough sleep, we're able to cope so much better in general. And so it's kind of like an upward spiral. Like you get really good sleep, the next day, a stressor happens and you're able to really, cope with it a lot better. And then you make better choices throughout the day. And then it leads to another good night's sleep. So that's why this is why it ties in with sugar as well.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to get into what the number one biggest mistake we all make that keeps you addicted to sugar. And this is basically for all addictions. And the number one biggest thing is our mindset, right? And do you keep saying things like, I'm addicted to sugar, or, oh, I can never, here's what I've heard over the years so many times. I could never give up my bagels. I could never give up my morning toast. I could never give up, I love, XYZ, fill in the blank. Beer, wine, those are all forms of sugar. The hidden sugars that we don't realize are hidden in the food. So that's the first step, is to acknowledging, like I just said before, about like acknowledging like, oh, what am I telling myself? What am I saying to myself about my addictions, or what I can and can't do, and who I am, and how I look and how I feel, and oh my gosh, this pain in my neck or whatever, like you just keep talking about it. So maybe some of you guys right now, you could say in the comments, did you just catch yourself that you're one of those people that keep saying you could never give it up, or you don't know how to do it, or it's hard, like I said yesterday. I'm just going to go back to my Zoom so I can see what you guys are saying. Julie says she falls into many of those categories. She loves it when I love when I start craving your recipes. My regular glasses have blue IQ. Yeah, so she has the blue IQ in her glasses. Great. Anybody feel like they can kind of sometimes catch themselves saying things like, I can't give this up, or this is really hard? All right, I don't see anybody commenting, but that's okay. I'll keep going. All right, so.
Ice cream. It's hard, but I know I can do it. My downfall is maple syrup in my coffee.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. I have a trick for you. Let me show you what it is. Aha. There is a new product. If you have a grocery outlet near you, we call it gross out, but it actually has some good stuff. There's a new product, sugar-free and keto, Lecanto maple syrup. All right, so you guys don't have to be hooked on maple syrup anymore.
Yeah, it's everywhere now. If you have a Natural Grocers or a Sprouts or Whole Foods, it's in all of those too.
Yeah, I think they've even had it in Costco. Yeah. Okay, so I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but it's time to let go of the limiting beliefs around food, because you got to decide that food and sugar don't control you, and you can overcome your cravings. And both Caitlin and I are proof of that, right? I just talked about that. You just have to make a decision that you're doing it, and notice yourself when you're having these slip ups of like this mindset of what you're saying about it, or you're complaining, or you know, any of those things, and just noticing you can do it. Like, so that's the one thing you might want to write a little sticky on your fridge. And don't say mean things. I mean, there's all kinds of strategies out there, but say things like, I can do this. I have the power. I am resilient. Like, whatever words would inspire you to stay on this sugar-free program, you know? So, so the new saying should be, I choose to, like I said yesterday, I choose to eat healthy, or I choose to have a yummy Asian wrap that I'm making today instead of going out with you for a burrito, you know, just tons of sugar in the wrap, and I'm not even going to get into all that. But so you're choosing. What are you choosing? What's the new thing you're choosing? And you never want to say, I can't. You want to say, I don't eat that. Oh, I don't eat gluten. It's all good. You go ahead. I don't eat gluten, or I don't eat corn chips. Yeah, I just found it works better for me to stay on, you know, stay away from those things. And that way you don't have to feel guilted into anything if other people are eating it or even craving it. And once you start eating it, as you know, it's just slippery slope. Like potato chips are one of those super slippery slopes. Oh, sure, I'll just have one. Their slogan is, I bet you can't eat just one. You know, they know what they're doing. They're doing it to get you addicted. So, no, I'm good. And that whole song, A Taste of Honey is worse than none at all. Remember that, right? A taste of honey is worse than none at all. If I abstain, I'm getting the chills. If I abstain, I could watch people eat potato chips and it doesn't even bother me. But if I have one, I'm sitting there going, I want another one. I want another one. I want another one. I want another one. I'm not immune to it either. So I just avoid it. There you go. So it's not about being perfect, like you said, Caitlin, because we all eat treats once in a while. It's about the awareness and choosing your sugars wisely. And there's a whole good, better, best thing, right? So the biggest thing you want to stay away from right now, what I talked about yesterday, agave, also high fructose corn syrup. I think probably most people watching already know how bad it is. And if you didn't hear it yesterday, it really, high fructose corn syrup and agave both affect the liver, because it creates fatty liver, it creates belly fat. It's the fastest way to get fat, because those are not real foods. They're totally processed, and they're just designed not by the manufacturers, but they're just the way they work, because they're high in fructose. They just go straight into creating tons of fat, and we do not want that, right? So you want to choose instead, so good, better, best would be, instead of white sugar, choose coconut sugar or coconut nectar, or choose honey. Okay, so that would be the good, like that would be a better choice than white sugar, of course, right? And also like small amounts of honey. If you're going to have honey, like a teaspoon versus, you know, using half a cup in pudding that you're making. And you talked about that yesterday, Caitlin, to use a little bit of honey for flavor, and then some stevia to what we call a flavor booster, where you just enough that you can't taste the stevia, but it makes it way sweeter, and it tastes like it would if you would have added the half a cup of honey. So there's tricks that you can do with that. Just a little bit of honey for flavor, or I think it was Julie or someone that said about the maple syrup, just a tiny bit of that, and then maybe a little bit of stevia with that. So that's the first hack, is like, I really love my maple syrup in my coffee, and I love that flavor, and I really don't want to get rid of that. So you could choose a different alternative sweetener, or you can say, I'm still going to have that maple syrup because it's in my fridge. And I know there's so many people that don't want to waste. They're like, well, if I throw it out, that feels really bad. So go down to a teaspoon of maple syrup, and then whatever drops of stevia you need to get it up to that sweetness. Does that make sense? And then, then we're looking at good, better, best with that. So choosing, if you are still going to eat grains, to choose the whole grains in things and make sure that it is whole. Like when they say whole wheat on a bag, I would really try and get off gluten altogether. That would be a high priority for me. But if you are going to have it, make sure that it's completely whole wheat and it's not just that they're saying it on the package, but then there's a bunch of white flour in there, because that's a lot of times what they do. And I'm not sure what the terminology is around that. But just reading your labels, reading them again, read them once a month, because over and over again, these companies are getting bought out by the big conglomerates. And that's why a lot of these companies start. They're like, maybe I'll make millions and then I'll just, if I sell it off. And so they'll change the ingredients on you. You want to just keep reading those labels and making sure they're not sneaking sugar in, because even if you think you're off sugar, but you ate something that had sugar snuck in, it's not about I'm a bad person. It's like when the sugar gets in, it's like someone accidentally dosed you with heroin and now you're addicted. It's just, you need to be aware. So you need to take this into your own hands and start reading the labels. And so, we know you've tried, and you may have gotten a weekend. Like I said, you've been doing it for a week or maybe even 2 weeks. I find that the 2-week mark tends to be the hard part, because it hits all those things we've been avoiding. We just want to pig out on, right? So it's just something that's a natural part of us. And so that's why it's good to have yourself set up with alternatives at that time. Like, all right, it's 2 weeks in and I'm really craving cookies. So you can make at that time, go ahead and make your cookie dough balls, which I'm going to show you tomorrow, or have your salad dressing made and make an awesome salad. And I know this sounds ridiculous, and I swear to you, it's crazy, but make yourself some green juice before you have the addiction. So like if you get in the habit of having a green juice every day, and celery juice is super easy to make. And we have recipes on the website, and we even have a free juicing course on the website on purejoyplanet.com, where you can go and learn how to make juice in a blender. And so have that on hand. And when you get the sugar craving, like I said, this is going to sound like the most ridiculous thing ever. Instead of the cookie, drink the green juice and say to yourself, I can have the cookie after I drink the green juice. And I promise you, 90% of the time, you're not going to want the cookie. Same with that beverage we made yesterday, that golden elixir. I'm going to have a 1/4 cup of golden elixir first, and then if I still want the cookie, I'll have it. It's like, so you need to, that's the way so this is kind of the if-then scenario. So I talk about this a lot in our Keto Gone Green course. I teach people that willpower doesn't work, and the reason for that is because we only can have willpower so many times. So as the day goes on, I avoided that bagel in the morning, and then my kids were eating this and I didn't have that. But by 5 p.m., you're like, willpower has been used up. So we talk about having an if-then scenario where, like, if I'm craving whatever it is for you, I just keep saying cookie because that used to be my biggest downfall, but it could be ice cream for you. It could be corn chips. If I'm craving that, then first I'm going to do 20 push-ups, and I'm going to do 40 jumping jacks, and then I'm going to wait 10 minutes. So you got to have your little thing in place of when you're craving something. And I mean, that might not always be possible to do 20 push-ups, but now that you're home, you can, because you're not out in the middle of, a restaurant or something. So this is actually a great time to get off sugar, because we're not eating out, and we have a lot of the temptations are gone, and we can control what comes into our house. Mm-hmm. Most of us can. I know that some of you guys have husbands and wives and children and different people eating different things, but if you're controlling the shopping, this is a good time to say, you know what, the whole family needs to boost their immunity, and this is how we're going to do it. Don't talk about anything other than this is what we do to make our immune system strong. Mm-hmm. So the willpower thing, you could even just write in your journal for 5 minutes before you have the treat. And why do I want this? What is this craving about? Am I actually hungry? That's a really good question to ask yourself. Why do I want this food right now? Is there someone you can call? I know for me, there's times where I've wanted something, like, I don't feel like calling anybody. I just want to eat that thing. So it's different for everyone, but if you have something in place, and if I want this, I'm going to text my friend Blessing, who is my ally, and I'm going to tell her that I want this thing. And sometimes even just saying it to someone else can work. Or having a witness, or putting it on Facebook that, hey, I'm quitting sugar and you guys need to hold me accountable. Accountability is great, like with your partner that lives in your house with you, or even your kids, like, hey guys, keep me accountable. you know, and that's not always a great position to put someone in, because I don't want to be that person that says, I thought you said you didn't want to eat sugar, because then you just want to punch them. What do you think, Caitlin? Any tips that you have that work for you really well?
Well,
Yeah.
I like Kathy. Kathy is in our Keto Gone Green coaching program, and she says her, way to not have the sugar cravings, it's actually intermittent fasting, which is something that we really practice in our coaching programs. And she says it's really helped her to stop stress eating. So we're really big advocates of intermittent fasting. We're probably not going to talk a ton about it here, but just abstaining from any sources of food for a period of time can really help curb those sugar cravings, because it's actually balancing our blood sugar. As weird as that sounds, you would think, oh, you're not eating, your blood sugar would be all over the roof. But once you really get in the routine of intermittent fasting, it actually does really, really good for our blood sugars and keeps everything really, really balanced and even keel. And that's what we want throughout the day. We just want to be even all day long. We don't want to be doing the ups and downs. So I would really recommend too, if you really are serious about not having sugar cravings anymore, is to get the bread out. Because if you're still eating the bread, I guarantee you're still going to be craving the sugar. So, and you're still going to be having the ups and downs. So that would definitely be one tip.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Rita Marie, who's a really good friend of mine and a naturopath, says that it takes 7 days for the gluten to get out of the system. So if on the 7th day you eat the bread again, like, oh, I'm only having it once a week, it takes your whole body the whole week to repair the inflammation that you just caused. So if you're thinking that you're doing a good job by only having it once in a while, you need to give it time to get completely out of your system. That's why there's programs like the Whole30 that work so well. And like our program, which is very similar to the Whole30, but it's vegan, and we just teach you so many of the recipes. But it's about getting away from that stuff, and then for a whole month. And then that's why when people have it again, they're like, oh my God, I had no idea how this was affecting me. Someone was asking about, Mindy was asking about liquids for fasting. Yeah, you can do veggie broth. You can make your own by freezing a bunch of vegetable scraps and just making a big pot once a week. Have that, have the green juices, the celery juice, the cucumber juice. I put in things like cilantro. I keep it really low carb. I don't put apples in. And then I have usually 4 jars at a time in my fridge, and I just drink that every morning. And I'll have my coffee, my keto coffee, which we have the recipe on our website as well. It's just coffee with medicinal mushrooms in it, and a little bit of, I put in olive oil, but you can also put in coconut oil and blend it. And I drink that till, well, I don't drink it all day, but I don't eat till 2 usually most days, because that's my intermittent fasting period. So it's not about not having anything in that window, which you can do, but it's just about like no carbs and no very, very low calories. Mm-hmm. So Julie Madovich says, I eat all my Costco keto certified almond butter cups, and now there's only the good stuff. I have lots of conversations with myself in the grocery store, and I read labels. It really makes me put down things I'm tempted to buy, and only good stuff left at my house since I am homebound. Yes. Mm-hmm. I love that, Julie, because I do that too. Like, I'll be at Costco as well, and they're like, oh, these are keto. And then I read the label and I'm like, yeah, but you know what? If I buy those keto chocolate bars with a little bit of goji berries or whatever, that's not tons of carbs, I'm going to probably eat more than I need to, and I'm going to feel yucky. So the way my willpower works for me is I do my future pacing. You know, I can imagine being home watching a Netflix and eating that, and my stomach will start to get nauseous, and then won't sleep well, and then I'll wake up groggy, and my next day, like, so this choice right now in Costco is going to affect me for 24 hours. And then they're going to still be in the cupboard, and I'm not going to want to waste them. And this is like $10 for this. Like, do I really want to just waste $10 right now? So I have the same conversations you have, Julie, about like, is this really what I want to choose right now in this moment? Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. So I know we got this recipe to get to, and we only have an hour. So I want to just kind of go quickly through the rest of our
we can intersperse some of these throughout the recipe. How about that? Because these are just all of our tips and tricks for if you do have a sugar craving come up, how to mitigate it, or how to, choose something else rather than the sugar. So why don't you get into the recipe and we'll just keep chugging along.
Love it. Okay, and you can interject as I go, because I know we're going to talk about how fat keeps us satiated, and that's what I'm just about to cover. I'm just going to pull up my recipe here. All right, so these are called Asian salad wraps. And I'm gonna start with the dressing. And I am a big proponent of sauces. I'm a big believer in, if you've got the sauce, then the salad's gonna taste amazing. So we're gonna start out with our sauce. And we're gonna start out with, you know what? I just wanna recommend to you guys to, unless you're not sure if you're gonna like it, just to go ahead and double it, because then you're gonna have plenty of sauce on hand. And I'll eat this for a week. It lasts 10 days in the fridge, but I'm just like, I pour it on everything. I dip stuff in it. I'll dip like some bell peppers in it or some jicama. So we want to start out with our garlic, and I want to show you guys. Can you see my screen, Caitlin? Be able to see you guys and see my screen if there's questions. I need to see the recipe.
If you could tilt it back. Oh, there we go. Well, now we can't see you, but.
Okay, well, I'll do my best to kind of.
That's great. That'll work.
Okay, so this is a fun little tool for garlic. I don't buy the pre-peeled garlic because it gets really stinky in the fridge and the food goes bad quicker. So you can just take the garlic with all the skins and put like 3 cloves in there and then just roll it. And this is just one of those fun little gadgets. You can do it however you want, but I like it because it just takes all the skin off, and then or all the peel off. That one didn't come off. But I want the garlic, it's not cut and it doesn't stink my fridge out because it just peels it without cutting it. All right, so anyway, that's gonna go in. And the other thing to know if you're using a Vitamix is it has the skin of the garlic has what's called quercetin, which is an expensive supplement, super good for the heart. So if you leave a little skin on, it's not gonna be a big deal. It's gonna blend up and it's actually really good for us. Okay, so the next ingredient is some salt. I use real salt, and I keep it in this little wooden thing, and I'm going to double it, so I'm using a teaspoon here. Real salt has minerals in it. It's but from, if you're in the US, it's a local salt. It's in local-ish. It's in Utah, and it's from old salt mines. And the Himalayan salt now we've stopped using because we've heard there's a lot of fraud going on with that. They're calling it pink salt and doing all kinds of crazy stuff just to make money. Okay, the next thing is ginger, and it says chopped or grated. I just chopped mine into chunks, so I kept the skin on like I did yesterday. I'm just gonna go right into the blender. It's organic and I washed it. And then 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. I'm using this one, organic toasted sesame oil. We don't use a lot of toasted oil. We use it more like an extract or a flavoring because it is a highly heated oil. But it really adds that Asian flavor to your recipe. So we just use it in small amounts. So I'm gonna put that into my blender. And then I'm gonna use either tahini or almond butter. And I wanna remind you guys, if you're doing a lot of almonds, to switch out with other nut butters and other seed butters. So today I'm using tahini. I'm using this company Hummingbird. It's a really high quality tahini. I've also been known to order big 8-pound buckets online that are organic because with my classes, I tend to go through a lot of tahini. And we make cookies with tahini too. So I mean, this is in what's called a metric wonder cup. And what's great about it is you just push it and everything comes out. So it's a super great little trick for getting all the goop out. And then the next ingredient is our red chili paste from Thai Kitchen. This is a great one to have around. It's kind of like a gel in there, and it's a really good flavor to stuff. So I'll just show you close up what that looks like. And 1 jar, some people will use the whole jar in 1 curry. I just tend to use it for like adding extra flavor to things. Super good. And then we need our coconut aminos or tamari. So all coconut aminos are not created equally. Some have higher carbohydrates than others, so you really want to read the label. I tend to use coconut aminos. So this has 7 grams for, I think, 1 tablespoon. So that's kind of high in carbohydrates for just 1 tablespoon. So use it in moderation. I also use an organic wheat-free tamari, and that's way lower in carbohydrates. I think it's only 2 per tablespoon. So for me, I tend to use more of the tamari versus the coconut aminos, but sometimes I will use the aminos as well. If you're soy sensitive, then use the aminos. But we have found that fermented soy, like a tamari, tends to be less reactive for people than like tofu. Okay, and then we're gonna add in our apple cider vinegar, and you could use lemon juice. If you are using lemon juice, you want to double it. So instead of a tablespoon, you would do 2 tablespoons. And then onion powder. Now, you guys are going to laugh, maybe. Those of you who know me won't. But I keep onion powder in a huge jar like this because we use a lot of it. I think it's a really great filling in the gaps flavor. It's like when something's missing in a recipe, I'm doing 2 tablespoons because it's double. And something's missing, you taste it, you're like, oh, it needs to be a little sweeter, but it also needs more pungent flavor. Like onion powder covers about 10 umami flavors. It's just like, it's one of those foods that just gets me excited. I love the taste of it, and it makes my recipes taste super good. And then the next is, since orange zest has no sugar in it, we can still get the flavor of the orange without putting like orange juice in. So we're just going to use the zest. It does say in your recipe that you can use the juice in here as well. I'm not going to put the juice in. I'm just going to use the zest because I just want that flavor. Those of you guys who know us from Love Camp or have taken any of my online courses also know that you can peel an orange or a lemon and dehydrate the entire skin, like chop it up and dehydrate it, then turn it into a powder, and it's a really great way to add flavor to your recipes without adding the sugary juice of the orange or the lemon or the lime. I mean, the lemon and the lime, we actually use that juice as well, but you can dehydrate the skin, so you can use the entire part of the citrus. The only thing I don't recommend is grapefruit, because I did that and it was too bitter. Okay, so we got all this fun zest from the orange. Just gonna put the whole thing in. And then what I've done in the past with my oranges is I'll freeze them and give it to my roommate to put in a smoothie. So it doesn't go to waste. Okay, and if you're someone who still feels okay with that, with having a tiny bit of orange juice, then go ahead and use it in your recipe. Okay, now that's all we need, and then we're going to blend. And that was an optional ingredient. So I'm gonna go ahead and blend. I feel like there's supposed to be water in this recipe, but I did not see raw water. Okay, so let's see what happens. Can you see my blender from there, Caitlin?
Now we can.
And move it over. All right, so today I got the big guns out. The big blender. Okay. I am going to add water to this, so I want you guys to write on your recipe or make a note to add, probably, I'm going to start with a 1/4 cup and then go more if I need it. That might have just accidentally gotten left out of the recipe, because if you'll notice in the blender it's just not really blending. So I'm going to start with, since I doubled it, with 1/2 cup, which would be a 1/4 cup for your recipe, and see how that goes. Did you notice a difference? I'm kind of glad that I missed the water, because you notice how much better it did as soon as I added that water. So 1/4 cup, just add a 1/4 cup of water, which is 4 tablespoons to your recipe. And then that's going to make it the other thing you can do just for fun is, I had some carrot bits left over from when I shredded my carrots. You can throw those scraps in there if you want, or anything like that. Don't do cabbage or anything. I would only do carrot or bell pepper. Throwing veggie scraps into your salad dressing, it's a great way to use them up. Oh, this is gorgeous. Okay, so now I'm going to pour this into a jar, and then we'll move on and make our
So there's a couple questions. Do you want me to go through them?
Yeah, please. Sorry, I can't see the screen because I'm looking at the
Yeah, for sure. Kelly asks, if you just have sesame oil and not toasted, is there a big difference in taste?
There's a huge difference, and I would just don't use it. Don't use the regular sesame oil because you don't need it. It's just like tahini. The only reason the toasted sesame is in there is for flavor. So just, if you don't want to use it, just cross it out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And then Kathy asks, can you just wash and throw your garlic whole unpeeled in the recipe if you have a Vitamix?
Yes. That's the exact thing I was kind of trying to convey, but not that little knobby end that has the stem on it. But yeah, the rest of it, you can just throw the whole thing and you won't even see the skins.
Yeah.
I learned that from Giuliano like 20 years ago. I was like, what a great tip. Same with not peeling the ginger. It's all nutrition coming from the shell. Any other questions?
And Allie says, yum. She loves the toasted sesame oil for flavoring recipes. And it really does. Like you said, it makes a huge difference. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Jules asked, where did you get the measuring cup for the tahini? And that is a metric Wonder Cup, which are a little bit more difficult to find these days. We actually used to sell them, but someone answered, they said, eBay. Yes, we've seen them on eBay or Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yeah, Bed Bath & Beyond has something that's like it, and there's one that like twists up and down, but the one I showed you guys has always been my favorite, and it's the cheapest. We stopped selling them just because we had to order them in huge cases, and they're just so cheap anyway that I figure people can find them. But maybe we'll get them back in someday. I'm going to reblend because my carrot didn't blend. All right. So it's going to taste a little salty, but that's normal because salad dressing is going to go on a bunch of salad. So you're not necessarily, it's not going to be something you're going to want to eat like a soup, right? Or drink. So it's going to be usually a little more potent than, when you taste it. Like it should kind of have a kick to it.
One last question. Kelly asks, if you use the orange juice from the orange, then we wouldn't need water?
That might be true. Yep, because orange juice probably has about a 1/4 cup of liquid in it. There you go. Yeah. All right, so there's my dressing. So just so you know, this is double, and it makes about a pint, which is 2 cups. So you would definitely have a week's worth of dressing there. Especially, if it's just you might only need to make a single batch, depending on if you think you're going to like it. If you like Asian flavors, though, you'll like it. Okay, so now I'm going to go into just quickly showing you guys how to do all the little simple layers like the scallions. I'll try and go in order. So 2 carrots, I've already shredded those. 1 red bell pepper, I got a part yellow, part red, diced. We've got an English cucumber, julienne. I didn't julienne it yet. I did stripe it because I want some of that nutrition from the skin. This one doesn't look like it's been waxed. A lot of organic ones are still waxed, so you got to watch out for that. I'm just going to show you guys how to do it on my julienne slicer. I really love this tool. I'm going to put it on the julienne. If you have a julienne or a mandolin at home, you can just do it on like the number 3 setting, and it'll make a really beautiful julienne cut. If you don't, then you just slice it and cut it into thin strips. Okay. And I try and avoid the seeds, so I'm turning it over before I get to the seed bed. Although this one, if you buy the English ones are kind of expensive right now. I think they're like $3 for a tiny one. So I didn't buy that. But the English generally don't have as many seeds, and this is fine. You can put that in if you want. I just didn't want my salad to be super watery. So anyway, that's a fun little tool. So I'm going to put all of this in a big bowl and mix it up, and then I'm only going to put dressing on as much as I think I'm going to eat today. So there's the 2 carrots, the cucumber. I've got my scallions here. A lot of people think you're supposed to cut all the white off, but really all you need to cut off, unless you just don't like a lot of onion. If you're someone that's sensitive, just use just the green. But I use the entire thing. I just get rid of those little heads. And all that stuff could be going into a bag to freeze and make veggie broth out of later. So if you want to make your own veggie broth, to save all these scraps. But I'm just doing like a thin julienne slice here. Can you guys see my board, Caitlin?
You can see half of it, but we get the idea.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you get the idea.
Yeah. Oh, you guys don't get the idea?
I feel like Winnie the Pooh when I say that. I've been here before. Okay, my little favorite tool I don't see, so I'm just going to use a spatula. Okay, into the bowl it goes. And I don't know, I did that kind of quickly, but we do teach more knife skills in our courses. You want to have a sharp knife when you're cutting that kind of onion and really slide your blade through, or you're going to end up with one onion all stuck together. As I know all of us have experienced at least once in our lives. Okay, next ingredient is our cabbage. I'm gonna make more sauerkraut. Those of you guys who saw me do Facebook Live last week, here's my kraut that I made. It's kind of a kimchi style, which is awesome, but I bought more cabbage because I'm like, well, I can always eat sauerkraut. This is beautiful. I'm gonna take that off, but I'm just gonna show you, and I know everybody kind of knows how to cut cabbage, but I don't like to cut mine thick because I don't like that texture of cabbage. Just to show you guys your mandala for the day. And, can you see from here, Caitlin?
Yep.
Like paper thin slice is really good. I would use, if you have the julienne or the mandolin, use the #1 setting, but I just take my time and cut super thin slices if you're using a knife. Don't cut big, like, so here's the mistake. People go, oh, I'm cutting my cabbage. Do you really want to bite into that in a salad? That's so hard to chew. Most of us don't chew enough. I think I just get grossed out when I get a salad and someone's cut the cabbage huge and it's raw. Like I can't digest it. So just keep that in mind. I'll use that for my kraut later. And then so what I'll do is I'll just do the rest probably for sake of time here on my mandolin. It's on the slice setting and it's on the #1 now. So it's gonna be super thin. And I can just make super thin cabbage cuts. And I just really enjoy a super fine cut. This makes life more enjoyable. How much does it say I need? Some, right?
You need some.
Some. Okay, that's good. Yeah, because we want our salad to have like a pretty mix of everything and not be overpowered by any color. So there was something you guys noticed about my salad, about the colors?
So vibrant.
We're gonna eat the rainbow today, right? Put my peppers in, so we've got the red, we've got the purple, we've got the yellow, we've got the green. I'll throw in, not everybody likes cilantro, but I do. You can throw in basil or cilantro, and I'm just roughly chopping it, putting it in. I already washed it. Save the stems for your broth. It makes a really good flavor in your veggie broth. So now, oops, get that big fat leaf out. That'll go, yeah, just save any of those scraps for kraut if you want to make your own kraut later. You can go back and watch my Facebook Live on Facebook. All right, so there we go. It smells oniony, it's beautiful. And now I'm gonna just dress what I think I would eat today. So you can make the salad ahead like this. Keep it in a Tupperware or a glass. I like to use glass containers in the fridge. I'll just show you, like you can get these at Costco, and I think you can get them even in drugstores. So put most of it away, whatever you're not gonna have. And then the rest, that's probably a good amount for my lunch. So you can see this probably will make 3 or 4 rolls from this amount. You can add more if you're gonna do a whole family. Do however you like. Okay, that looks good. And then I'm just gonna put in a little bit of dressing, as much as I think I need. I really like sauce, so I'm gonna put in like 1/4 cup or something. And then I'm gonna stir it up. My little handy dandy spoon here. And kind of let that start marinating, right? Because you want to tenderize the cabbage, get those onion flavors to meld. I could even put in more dressing at this point, or I could even just go, oh, I'll just throw in a dash of cocoa aminos to give it some sweetness. This is not in your recipe, but I got this flax tempeh, which I really like. It's fermented tofu or fermented soy, but I really love the flavor of it. And so you could slice that up and put that, the thin slice, and put that in your roll for a little extra protein. And you could even grill it or cook it, saute it, and that might add like another level to this, another layer of texture. So next is our collard wraps, and as you can see something about them, they are a little more, I'm just gonna go back to the main screen so I can see you guys. They're a little more like soft, and that's because I froze them. So I wanna show you what I did. I know I had that tool here somewhere. I probably got it out. Oh, this is my favorite tool if you guys haven't seen it yesterday. Scrape, scrape, scrape. I want to get my board really clean. This can all go right into my salad because it's just good stuff. And then that way, this is just a really great tool for keeping your board clean.
And it's called a bash and chop.
Bash and chop, or Yeah, pastry scraper. Okay, I'm gonna move back a little bit. I just don't want my computer to fall off the back of the counter. That would be bad. Okay, so I think you guys can see that better. Freezer has, I buy collards, and I'm the only one eating the food that I buy, so you know I'm not going to eat a whole thing of collards before they go bad. So I freeze them. These have been in there for like a month, and they're frozen solid, right? Perfect. I got these leaves out before I started this demo, so it's been about an hour, and they naturally just soften themselves. But you could also just run it under hot water to defrost it. Just take one out at a time, or however many out that you need, and keep the rest in a bag, kind of a loose bag in the freezer. Just be sure not to crush them because they will break because they're very fragile. But that's how I do my collards. You could also steam them, but I find sometimes that's just an extra step and it's a pain. So can you see what I'm doing here? Yep. Okay. So I'm going to cut the stem off, and then I'm going to fillet. This is called filleting. Fillet that stem off the back. Okay, and you're going to use, the ugly side is going to be the inside of your wrap. And then the other side, the more vibrant side, is going to be the outside. All right, so then all you're going to do is take your yummy, yummy looking salad here and fill it up with, I mean, as much as you want to put in there. This is probably enough for me for a meal. Like, that's more than enough. What other things can we add in? Any of our love campers or people that might, what would you guys add in that's, so I didn't really cover all the things about things to keep us satisfied, but one of them is fat, and that's why keto gone green works so well. When we start eating more avocado and fat dense foods, we're going to be more satisfied. So sprouts would be a great one. Thank you. I have sprouts right here. I grew my own sprouts. So yes, thank you for that, Karen. What else? Some radishes. Yeah, you guys have great ideas. Avocado or avocado mash. This one actually, yeah, I think it's gonna be fine. Oh, the other one was sauerkraut, right? You could put some sauerkraut in. This is a kimchi.
Denise said red beets would be great, or zucchini.
Yep, I thought about that. And if you don't have red cabbage, you could use red beet. If there's any of these things you can't find right now, I don't know about you guys, but my produce section is packed with produce at Natural Grocers in Bend. But then all the packaged food is empty. The shelves are empty. But the produce, there's tons of. And the things we're buying, like I know some people are worried about Love Camp, about getting the ingredients, but the things we're buying are actually not in high demand. And that's to our advantage, actually, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Pumpkin seeds, ooh, that would be good. Jicama for crunch. I do have some jicama I could put in. For those of you guys who don't know what jicama looks like, I've got some sticks cut out. The outside is brown, but then I cut my own sticks and put them in water. So I could just slice up a stick of jicama. I use these for dipping in food in my cheesy sauce, which I taught you guys last week on Facebook. But yeah, that would be great. So yeah, these are all really great ideas. I'm not going to do everything you suggest because we'll take forever.
I would do hemp seeds. Hemp seeds would be good in there too.
That would be great.
And we have some questions about what you could use besides a collard. And Lynn said, what about nori or coconut wraps? And I would say those are two fantastic alternatives. I love nori for wraps like this because it has that nice seaweed taste to it. And for those of you who don't know, there's something you can buy that are just coconut wraps. There's a couple different brands out there, but if you search coconut wraps, they're all the health food stores too. So that would also be a really, really great alternative to the collards.
I totally agree. I think those are great ideas. So what I did is I wrapped it and it kind of sealed itself. But if I'm going to cut this in half, which I think will just make it easier to eat, I'm just going to use 2 toothpicks just to kind of put into the edge so that it doesn't just go where the actual seam is, so it doesn't like fall apart on me. And then I'm going to cut it at an angle. Yummy. Oh. And then if it's not enough sauce, you can always put it on a plate. You can always dip it more, or you don't have to put the sauce inside. You can just put it without the sauce and then dip. And remember, you could also have tempeh in there if you wanted, or any kind of thing. If you're not vegan and you want to put something else in, whatever. This is just a suggestion. This is all sugar-free. This is all super high mineral food that's going to satisfy you. Like, this is enough because my body's like, wow, that was really satisfying. I don't need to eat a ton of food.
And the other reason why we love the collards is because you can see how deep dark green that is. That is like pure alkalinity. Like that has so many minerals. It has something called, well, we know what it's called, but magnesium and vitamin C, all of those minerals actually help balance our blood sugar. So they're also going to lead to us having less sugar cravings.
Yeah. Yay. Rachel says, yum. Can't wait to make these tonight. Allie says, it looks so good. Can't wait to make them. I hope you guys make them. I hope you guys, and Celia's going to make her corny tortillas for these. That's great. You guys will learn that if you take our 1 month Keto Gone Green course, which is starting in April. What else people are saying? So I think we got all that.
I think if you want to unmute yourselves, let's see. You can.
Yes, post on Twitter, by the way.
Julie says rainbow chard. Yes, chard would be a great alternative also.
Or big kale leaves, but you would want to definitely steam those or freeze them because they definitely are too fibrous otherwise.
So I did open it up. If you do want to speak, you can just type in the chat like, hey, I have a question or a comment, or you can just unmute yourselves and start talking. But I did want to address one more thing while we're all thinking up our questions and comments. We had someone in the challenge group ask if they could post these recipes online as they're posting their recipe photo. And I think what would be a better alternative to posting the full recipe would be to post the link for them to join the challenge, because once they join the challenge, then they can get the recipe PDF, they can get the full instructional video, and it's free. So instead of maybe posting the recipe online, just have them join the challenge. They can join it up until next week. I'm gonna leave it open. So there's gonna be people doing their 3-day challenge even after we do this live. So I just wanted to address that question.
And you guys can just say anything like how your experience was yesterday or how you're doing. It doesn't have to be a question if you want to talk today. Oh, Dorothy Bauer's here. Hi, Dorothy. Long time no see. Anybody out there? We know you're out there.
This is Julie in Bend, and sorry I'm wearing the same sweater as yesterday, but haven't gone anywhere. I just want to say I'm super excited this was the recipe you picked, because I've been very curious about using the collard greens, but because I live by myself, and I was worried about how long I can keep them in the freezer. So thank you for addressing that, and that will be so great to have, because I'm not a big fan of the other wraps. I'll make the corny wraps, but I really like the idea of wrapping it in a green. So
awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Julie.
And I love yesterday's recipe. So good.
Yay.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello, Ellie in the dark.
I'm in the dark because I can't turn the lights on because it's like 5 in the morning and the mosquitoes and the bugs are just I live in the bush and I'm outside. Our living room's outside. So, so I'm in the dark, but I can see you all. I just wanted to say with the wraps, I was watching a video the other day in Australia on permaculture, and she was using pumpkin leaves off the vine. So she said if you steam them, they're not as spiky, like the spiky goes away, and then you can use them as wraps. How good is that? Because most of us can grow pumpkins at some stage.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so I'm going to try that for my wraps today.
Okay. Hey, will you post that and let us know how they taste? Like do a video biting it and going, or
or going, oh, the lady was wrong.
On that note,
right.
I just was going to say, when you said that, Allie, about pumpkin leaves, if anyone has access to like taro leaves, you could, Hawaiians use taro to wrap and steam food all the time. It ends up, if you steam it, it ends up like spinach, soft like spinach, but that might be an option if you're not steaming it. I don't know. I'd have to experiment.
That's a great idea. And Denise also says beet leaves or beet greens. That would be a real
yummy.
beet greens.
So I think someone on a cell phone wanted to say something. Galaxy S10. Are you there?
Yeah, it's me, Inga. How you doing, Kate?
Oh, hi, Inga.
Hey, I just want to say thanks so much for the reminder on sugar, because right now, just being cooped up, kind of stressed, it's just one of those things that it's bad, but our bodies just kind of crave it, which is really kind of stupid. So it is a drug, and I just really appreciate all the discussion on it, because it just has me remotivated just to kind of, pass by those things that get brought into my home, for my family. And I mean, I don't eat it. They like to eat it, but then sometimes I nibble, and it's just really hard when you have family. I can just say that. I envy those of you that live alone and can do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do want to acknowledge that, Inga, and thank you for sharing, because when I first got into raw foods, I was married and my husband ate Oreo cookies and things like that, and I asked him to put it up in the cupboard above the fridge. He was willing to do that for me so that I didn't have to look at it. But I know if you have kids as well, it's a little difficult. But I want to acknowledge that, because maybe even having your own cupboard that only you go in your cupboard. But I know when you're shopping for the family, yeah, it gets tricky. But I'm glad that this is working for you, and that you could even just share with your family like about the immunity part and maybe get them on board in some ways.
Yeah, little by little. I mean, I've got kids home from college now too, and kids are home now 24/7. And so it's, I've just had this reality check was, I'm not going to convert them, and I'm not, unless they really want to do it for the right reasons. Yeah. And so I've just realized I'm going to just have to make my food and their food, as much as that sucks to have to cook 2 different kinds of meals. But when I do make my kind of food for them, they walk away from the table and go open up the cupboards and get whatever they want. So it's just one of those reality checks, I guess, when you've got other people around that you have to consider what their dietary preferences are, even though they're not what you feel like, they should be eating. It's just being the example. So anyway, that's why I always tune into you, because you're just a breath of fresh air and inspiration all the time. So thank you.
Oh, I really love that, Inga. That was like perfectly said. And I think it comes back to with family, like non-attachment to and non-judgment of what they're doing, because I have to do that with my own partner so many times. I even have to sometimes go and journal, like non-attachment, non-judgment, like let them figure it out. And Inga, you know how to make so many of the little treats for yourself. So if you can just spend, I'm sure you do, but an afternoon making sure you have your own treats, because Julie said it too, like unless you have your own stash around of your treats, it can be easy to just have a nibble here and a nibble there. And then, your sugar bugs are just turned back on. So thank you for sharing. Yeah. It was really helpful.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. And Julie Keenan has her hand raised. Hi, Julie.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I've been struggling, as I've mentioned in some of the camps, with sugar for most of my life. And I did 1 year, about maybe 15, 20 years ago, where the whole year I was off sugar. It was like the most amazing. The difference that I wasn't off grains and I wasn't doing the low carb. So when I found your program, I was like, oh my God, the seas parted. Oh, it was amazing that I thought, really? I'm not hungry? I don't have cravings? I didn't have as many cravings just being off sugar. And that was the step, huge step 1. But this really took it to the next level. So for anyone that's, say, tuning into this that's new, that says, oh my God, sugar, yeah, I don't know if I can do it. But just like the whole package, it really started to put things in perspective. And I was still having, like early on when I was kind of resisting this about a year ago, and I, was letting it go deeper and deeper. When I fully immersed myself, I realized, wow, the inflammation is gone. I don't have any joint pain. I don't have any, like my knees, everything was feeling amazing. Whereas maybe 15 years ago when I went to my chiropractor one day and he's like, you're having like systemic arthritis from inflammation from like, you're gluten intolerant. And I shifted everything. And so now it's just become to this next level. So the way I think about it is, how good can I make my health? Like, what's the level of excellence that I can get things to? So when someone says, oh, I'm fine, I can do this, I'm losing weight, and I'm thinking, but do you want to feel even better? Is there another level? Mm-hmm. Because I can hear sometimes that they're still struggling with certain things.
Definitely.
Right. So, I remember it took you a while to be convinced too, Julie, right? That first year you were like, oh, I haven't made that recipe yet. Oh. And then once
What's
I
this?
remember the day that it hit, you're like, the lights all shone on,
Yeah.
oh, it works.
I have to say it wasn't as much that I didn't believe in it. It's more my inner perfectionist that like, oh, the circumstances have to be perfect. And, I just want everything to be just right so I can make something. And I just kept like in between, I kept wanting foods, or I missed foods that I used to eat. But then of course I tried them in between and I felt like crap. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to feel like crap.
Yeah.
So occasionally, like you guys were saying something that was really amazing today that I thought, yes, I have felt that. When I get stressed, I want to go back to foods that it's like the cell memory. It's like, we want those foods that make us feel great, that we grew up with, or even, a year ago. And there's something that happens to me when I get stressed when I work that I want to stop, like, oh my God, I have to eat something. And I'm thinking, oh, is that the stress, or is that like some psychological thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, I'm not really craving anything specific, but I still have that feeling. And it seems like it's around stress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think I want to name that right now. That's called, for me, deservability. Well, I deserve to have, like, I come home late, I've been dancing and I've worked out and I forgot to eat dinner. I just didn't have time. I'm like, well, I deserve something. And it has nothing to do with hunger, but I deserve it. So usually for me, it's a handful of almonds and I'm like off to bed. But I get that, Julie. It's not about hunger. It's not about needing anything. That's why it's good to have these alternatives, like the cookie bites, which we're going to make tomorrow because somebody just asked about that. I did mention cookie bites. Tomorrow I'm going to show you how to make vanilla, like chocolate chip cookie bites that are all sugar free, and I'll show you a version, or I'll talk about a version that's lemon, like a lemon bite. But those things are going to be lifesavers for any of you guys who like treats. So please come back tomorrow for that. I know people are asking also about if the chat can be saved, and I don't know if that can, Caitlin.
Yeah, I actually did it right before she asked that. I went and saved it. So.
Oh, good. So it's all saved. If you guys are wondering if you can read back through the chats, yes, you can. And I just want to say I appreciate you, Julie, for sharing this. And you've always been such a great resource for everyone. Julie is one of our mentors as well. Because she's been through it so newly, she's just really knows like what people are going through, and she has so much compassion, and she has really great tips for you as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Anybody else before we sign off? We're already an hour and 22 minutes in, and we're happy to be here for you, but we also want to spend time.
Can I say something?
Of course.
Okay, so as listening to, the sugar problems that we have, I feel that a lot of our sugar problem is when we were little, it was used as a reward, unknowingly. Oh, you don't feel good, let's just have something sweet. So it's more of a comfort, psychologically, we crave it because maybe that's what we got to feel better. Mm-hmm. And so by learning these new recipes, we still can have it as a reward, but it's a better reward. It's more mindful, and it still gives us that comfort and that psychology based feeling that we had when we were little. Exactly. So it's like, and that's probably why a lot of our cravings is not only, maybe we're not really craving the sugar, but we're craving the feeling behind it. And I just love your recipes, because it's like, oh, I could still have my cake and eat it too. Mm-hmm. I don't really need the sugar. It's the feeling behind it.
Right.
And I
That's
think
really well said, Kelly. Thank you. That's exactly, you just named it. It's I deserve a treat because I'm a good girl. And I did thing. I did my exercise. I did my project. I deserve something. And you're right. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how we were brought up. We should recognize it, though, that's not a real thing. But if we do need the treat, to have an alternative, which is exactly what you guys.
Exactly. Love you guys.
Okay. Love you too, Kelly. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to sign off unless you have anything else to say. People are really loving the comments that you guys are all commenting. See how you guys love to see the other people, what they're saying? This is why we do this as a group, and why we want you to be on the Facebook group as well, which you have links to, because the more you're on there, we feel like we're all part of something. We're not alone in our cravings and in our houses and whatever, you know, like, so thank you guys all for commenting. We really appreciate that you're willing to put stuff up there.
Mm-hmm. And the more engaged and involved you are, and the more questions that come up, the more you're going to get out of this. So really, really use us as resources, and all of our amazing mentors and everyone else who have chatted on this. It's so great. And tomorrow is our last day, and it's going to be super, super good. So we hope you can all attend live again.
Yay. And thank you, Jerry. You brightened my day too by being here. So thank you for saying that. I love you guys all, and go make some rolls. I want to see your pictures and see you taking a bite.
Bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.
See ya.
Bye.